Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix and welcome, Scorpio, to your astrological overview for the year 2025. And that's for the Sun in Scorpio, also the rising sign, also known as the ascendant, and some people like to check out their moon sign. So, what's going to be happening for you this year? Well, we've been on a little bit of a kind of an astrological roller coaster since the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic kicked in. And each year has just been the year that keeps on giving astrologically with the most extraordinary U-turns, changes, disruptions that the planets can give us. So, will it be any different in 2025? Will it settle down? Or maybe this is the year of preparation, because actually the year, I think, of initiation and being proactive in very positive ways is actually 2026. Doesn't mean that you can just sit back and do nothing this year, Scorpio. There is still a lot of work for you to do. But let's start with the planet Pluto. What I'm going to start with is the outer planets that I fondly call my big boys. And let's see how they are going to be affecting you this year. So the most notable change of energy is the fact that the planet Pluto, the dwarf planet Pluto, but it's very powerful because it actually represents being powerful, being empowered, and transformation, beginnings, endings. It can be death and rebirth. Now, you've had this planet going through your third house, Capricorn, for about the last 18 years. And whilst it was in this part of your chart, which is the part of the chart to do with communication, to do with your local community, you will have found that you have been in quite a prominent position within your local community, changing and transforming the way local groups operate, the way communication is operated. And I think we will have seen a lot of Scorpios quite busily involved in their local areas. But what's going to happen this year? Because Pluto at the end of 2024 will actually, in November the 19th, finally moved after 18 years, restructuring the way you operate with your communications of Capricorn. It moves into Aquarius, which is your fourth house. Now, the fourth house is very much about your home and your family. Now, Aquarius is about the community at large. It's a very high frequency sign. It's a sign that represents technology, innovation, invention, thinking of new and different ways to approach things. And we're talking about your home, your base, your family, your ancestors, where you come from, where you may want to go towards. So Pluto, the planet of transformation, being in this part of your chart for, I might add, the next 20 years, I think is going to see a lot of you moving home, but moving home in quite a big way. It can even imply moving country. So a lot of Scorpios will be looking at changing their location, even if it doesn't happen imminently over the next 20 years. And I know we could say that for many Scorpios, for many signs of the Zodiac, that over the next 20 years they will move home. And that's true. But for you, Scorpio, it's particularly accented in the first couple of years of Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. So we're looking at 2025 and 2026 and into 2027, when you could see yourself making a significantly big transformational move. And that is going to be life-changing. It is going to change the whole way you operate and structure your life. It's going to be hard on some levels, because it may mean leaving certain people behind you in the past to follow their path, their karma. But in general, it's going to make you feel much more that you are in charge of your destiny, in charge of your home, and that wherever you go, because some of you might find you move around quite a lot with this kind of energy, and maybe even, should you be lucky enough and maybe have won the lottery, you may have homes in several different places, so that you move around a lot and stay a couple of months here, a couple of months there. That could be something of the nature of this energy. But it will, and remember, of course, Pluto is actually your ruling planet. It rules the sign of Scorpio. So you are very at home with this Plutonic energy. And you will be quite happy, even with your fixed nature, to try different ways of living your life, to, as I said, have homes in different places. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it does unfold for you, Scorpio. So let's see what else is going on, because Jupiter, our planet of luck, opportunity, expansion, and Jupiter has been in your 8th house, Gemini, for nearly, well, it starts the year, it's been there for about 6 months, and it will have another 6 months till June in your 8th house, Gemini. Now, whilst it is in this part of your chart, it is really adding a kind of bonus and boost to joint finances. If you have investments or trust funds or bonds or anything of that nature, you will see them growing. So that in spite of maybe how the planet may seem, with some pretty tricky things happening to world economy because of maybe still the hotspots on the planet, where there is disruption, disease, war, pestilence, and famine. And I'm not in any way making fun of that. I'm just saying I don't want to particularly single out any particular area, but those areas are still going to be flaring up through this year. But it may be that by 2027, we start to actually see things settling down. Now, Jupiter, as I say, is giving a boost to your joint finances. It's a good time to really budget and look at how you can transform anything that you have in a joint name. So it can also be business partnerships and anything of that nature that can be very lucrative and fortunate for you. Jupiter will then move on the 9th of June into the sign of Cancer. And this, of course, is your 9th house. Now, the 9th house, of course, is the house of long-distance travel. But Cancer, of course, is the sign that represents home and family. So maybe some of you have family abroad that you will be, over the following year, from kind of June 2025 to June 2026, you will be making a lot of journeys to visit family abroad, or in turn, they will be visiting you. So a lot of potential travel for you in 2025 and 2026. And also, it's going to bring you an opportunity to expand your consciousness to really kind of grasp and learn particular subjects that fascinate you, that interest you. Some of you may decide to do a course in further education that really you feel quite passionate about, and it really absolutely rocks your soul and wakes you up and makes you feel, I just want to devour as much knowledge as I can about whatever the subject is that you are passionate about. And we also need to look at what Uranus is doing, because Uranus has been in your opposite sign, Taurus, for about the last 8 years. Now, Uranus is the planet of the unexpected. It's shocks, it's upsets, it's disruption. So some of you may have gone through divorce, remarriage, separation, change, completely kind of out of the blue, unexpected and dramatic change. Some of you may have met someone unexpectedly or reignited the passions that you have with somebody from the past when some of the retrograde planets have been in this part of your chart. Well, Uranus will be leaving your 7th house fully in 2026, but this year, 2025, from July to November, you're going to get a glimpse of what it will feel like when Uranus moves into your 8th house, Gemini. Now remember, Gemini is a sign about communication and about thought. So Uranus here is going to be encouraging you to be very innovative and inventive with anything you have in a joint name financially. It's like you will come up with some really cool ideas of ways to make your money grow, whatever that might mean for you. So you will get a glimpse of that energy from July to November. Then Uranus will move back into your 7th house, Taurus, where it will tidy up any loose ends with relationships that have been left teetering on a precipice. You will either decide, that's it, we're done, or they might not be you that makes the decision. And you might even decide, right, we have to make this a firm commitment moving forward, much, I might say, to the surprise of those around you. Because where Uranus is, there is always the element of surprise. So we cannot get away from that. So whatever you choose to do, Scorpio, you're going to be shocking people. They're going to be surprised at your actions. Now we have to move on to Neptune and Saturn, because they are in Pisces, which is your 5th house, your 5th house of entertainment, of creativity. It can be children, and it's also the house of romantic affairs. So Neptune has been in this part of your chart for nearly 14 years. But again, in 2026, it's fully going to leave your 5th house and move into the sign of Aries, which is your 6th house. So what has this all been about the last 14 years with Neptune in your 5th house? Well, first of all, Neptune rules Pisces. So Neptune is placed well in this part of your chart. I think it's brought interesting, romantic kind of daydreams, maybe little interesting little affairs, but they've petered out. They've just not really gone anywhere. You know, Neptune can make us very unclear about what we want romantically when it's in this placement in your chart. We can just not be really sure about what we want, who we want, or where we want to go. So for 14 years, you've been procrastinating, Scorpio. Well, that's going to change because that whole chapter is coming to an end. Because also this is the final sign of the Zodiac, Pisces. So it means that there really is going to be some big closure on parts of your life that really do need to close. It's also about letting go. You know, this is the house of children. So if you have children, it may be that you've found it hard to let them go, you know, to let them get on with their own lives. So there is very much a sense here of your growing awareness that you really do have to let them live their own lives and start a new kind of way of being when Neptune moves into your 6th house, Aries. It's a brand new start. It's a new beginning. And Neptune in Aries in the 6th, which of course is moving from a water sign into a fire sign, and it's going to be there for April, May and June. Now, the 6th house is your day-to-day routine. It's also your health. And it can also be service to others, caring for small animals, caring for people. Often we get involved in caring and the caring professions when we have energies moving through this part of the chart. I think for you, on a psychological level, Neptune is going to be waking up a lot of these kind of hidden psychic frequencies that you have, that we all have, that have been laying dormant within you. And it may bring a little bit of confusion to how you handle what you seem to know with the fact and reality of what is going on in your everyday life. Now, before I go further, we have to talk about the planet Saturn. Because Saturn, the planet of restriction, containment, boundaries, timing, has also been in Pisces in your 5th house, causing you to slow down in your social life. You will have found that a lot of the entertainment and outings that you used to do so readily have perhaps either not been available or you just haven't particularly had the energy to do them over the last 2 to 3 years. And Saturn has been slowing things down whilst it's moved through this part of your chart. Now, Neptune and Saturn are both moving into your 6th house, Aries, together. So they are going to be conjunct, and you will get a sense of what this is going to feel like in Aries in April, May and June. Now, Saturn conjunct Neptune Saturn is trying to give form to the formless. So Saturn is really trying to give you some structure to make sense of that which doesn't make sense. Now, there are some things that we can never rationally explain, especially when we get into metaphysical realms. We just have to accept that it is what it is. What we see or what we feel or what we hear is what it is. So there'll be a little bit of a kind of almost like a tug of war with yourself over what you're experiencing. And for some Scorpios, I think it's going to have or take a potential toll on you psychologically. And what you have to do is really make sure that you ground yourself. Ground yourself and stay in the moment. And just think, use the Saturn energy to be more structured about the way your mind might be going off at tangents. Because you see, actually what's happening is terribly exciting. It really is. It's super exciting. So it's important to enjoy this energy, and you get a glimpse of it this year and then fully from February 2026. So that's what the outer planets are going to be up to in general. Now I'm going to move on to some of the inner planets and what they are doing with their retrogrades this year. Now Mercury, the planet of communication, has had a retrograde just before we move into the new year. So in December, it went direct on the 15th of December in the sign of Sagittarius, the same day as we had a full moon in Gemini. Now, when it moves into the new year, on January the 1st, it will be at 19 degrees in your second house of finance. So if finances have been a little bit sluggish and slow in coming in, if your piggy bank just doesn't seem to have filled up as quickly as you would like it, you will see a definite change from mid-January onwards. Now, the next retrograde we have to look for is in the spring, in March and April, when Mercury will go retrograde in your sixth house. Now, remember, that's Aries, and it goes retrograde at 19 degrees on the 15th of March. So this is getting you to slow down your day-to-day routine. It's asking you to really take some time out. So it may be that in March you decide to take a little bit of time out, a break, to give your brain a rest. Because I think, Mercury can make us overthink, especially when it's retrograde. We keep thinking, did I do that? Did I sort that out? Should I do this? Am I supposed to have done that? And Scorpio, you need to just slow down and take a step backwards, because Mercury is taking a step backwards into Pisces, into your fifth house of fun and entertainment. So it really is encouraging you to just actually relax for a while in that early part of the spring and have some fun. And it goes back as far as 26 degrees Pisces. And then on April the 7th, it will move direct again. So it will, of course, go through your sixth house again. But what it will do is it will bring you renewed vision and sight of how to manage the situations or the issues that were coming up for you when Mercury went retrograde. Then we have another retrograde in your 10th house of work and career. I also think this part of the chart is about our passion, our soul path. It's what we absolutely will get out of bed at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning and do, because we're so passionate about it. It's like I am super passionate, as I'm sure you know, about my astrology. So I will absolutely push myself, often to the point of burnout, and then I have to spend a couple of days in bed recovering. That's my lesson, where I have to learn to slow down and take a little bit of time out. So you're going to have Mercury retrograde in Leo in your 10th house. And this is between July the 18th and August the 11th. So it's the summer. This is about how you make your money, or how you fill your emotional needs through what you are passionate about. It's Leo, so you like to do something that is, just puts you in the spotlight a bit. You might not honestly own up to that, Scorpio, but I think there's a part of you that actually quite likes coming out into center stage. You might need to have some backing singers with you or a backup team to make sure you know someone's got your back. But with Mercury retrograde from July the 18th in Leo at 15 degrees till it gets to Leo at 4 degrees and moves direct on the 11th of August, again, it's giving you some time to consider, reflect, maybe tweak things a bit, look at some other perhaps projects that you've been working on and how you could reinvent them or change them, tweak them, make them even better. So that is some of the energy that is going to be going on. Then we move on to your co-ruling planet, Mars. So remember, Mars is the old traditional ruler of Scorpio. And Mars, of course, also rules Aries and is the god of war, the god of action, energy, assertion, the god of sexuality, and it can be anger sometimes and arguments. Now, Mars is having a retrograde, and when we start the year, it is already retrograde because it's gone retrograde around the 6th of December 2024. And on January the 1st, it will have retrograded all the way back to 1 degree of Leo in your 10th house of work, business, passion. This is a nice big slowdown over Christmas and New Year. You can just put your feet up, have a bit of a break from kind of grinding away and pushing away. You know, you've got your mind is full of ideas and projects that you want to initiate, Scorpio. And Mars here is saying, hey, take it slow, take it easy. Just because I think the thing is, if you keep going at the pace you're going, you're going to burn yourself out. And if you don't burn yourself out, or if you do burn yourself out, you're going to start getting irritable, angry, and frustrated and take it out on your nearest and dearest. So it will retrograde back into Cancer, which of course is your 9th house of travel. And it's going to stay in this part of your chart until February the 24th. Now, when Mars is retrograde in your 9th house, it could mean on one level you go back and re-look at a subject that you've been very interested in and maybe done a training in, but you want to re-look at it and refresh yourself with it. It can also be that you are looking at travel at this time of year and you're frustrated because you are getting delays. And that may be due to the time of year, the Northern Hemisphere, and bad weather. For all you guys down in the Southern Hemisphere, maybe you're just frustrated because you can't get something moving. And it goes direct on the 24th of February, and it will take a while to move back into your 10th house, but at least it will be going direct. So after the 24th, any travel issues will ease off. And sometimes it's to do with events that are completely outside our control, like volcanic eruptions that create smoke and dust, and basically planes can't take off or land. And, you know, it can be anything like that. And obviously we've got all our irritating little war zones that can kind of spark off and cause us problems. So we also have another retrograde, and this is with the beautiful feminine planet Venus. Now, Venus is the goddess of love and relationship. Venus is also known as Aphrodite, and it always makes me think of that wonderful painting by Botticelli, where Venus Aphrodite is rising from the sea foam in a beautiful shell, and her beautiful blonde locks, golden locks, falling down to her ankles. But you can see the beauty and why Aphrodite was the goddess of love. So this is the divine feminine. Now, Venus and Mars don't often go retrograde, so to have both of them retrograde in the same year is quite interesting. But Venus goes retrograde in your 6th house of health and day-to-day routine. And this is on March the 2nd. Now it's Aries, it'll be at 10 degrees. Venus here is also, remember, it's about how you value yourself, how you value managing your time. You know, our day-to-day working routine is incredibly important for us to be productive, even if we're retired. It's terribly important to have a routine and to do things, passions, hobbies that keep the brain working. You know, really, people would say at my age, I should be retired, but I'm not. I've turned what is a passion, what some might see, I've got a cat here, what some might see as a hobby, but it's a passion, into a very comfortable and very enjoyable kind of part-time job. And I just love doing it. I love doing these videos. So I think Venus retrograde is asking you to view your self-worth, how you value yourself, what self-care do you give yourself? Are you taking care of yourself enough? Are you looking after you? That is incredibly important. And it will retrograde back into your 5th house of love affairs and entertainment and creativity. This could bring somebody from the past back into your life, even if it's just a kind of fleeting message or contact, and have you kind of perhaps wistfully thinking about the past. And then Venus will go direct again on the 13th of April at 24 degrees of Pisces, and then again, of course, move into the 6th house and eventually into your 7th house, when that's going to really have a very positive and beneficial effect on your close personal one-to-one relationships. But now let's look at the eclipses, because we have eclipses this year. And these are because of the moon's nodes. Now, the nodes of the moon are points in space, so they're not actually physical rocky objects. They are part of what we could call the ecliptic path. And the North Node, which has been in the sign of Aries, is the North Node is about our destiny. It's about our collective destiny and soul path, where we are meant to be headed, what we are meant to do, which is kind of like our soul contract that we agreed before birth. And the North Node is going to be moving back into the sign of Pisces. The nodes stay in a sign or in their respective signs for about 18 months. And so the North Node is moving back into Pisces. They always go retrograde. And the South Node will be moving from Libra into the sign of Virgo. Now, the South Node is about our karma. It's where we come from. It's what we bring in to this life. And it's the lessons that we perhaps haven't learned yet in this life that will come back to kind of bite us in our proverbial bum and remind us, you need to deal with this stuff. So get on it. Now, what is an eclipse? Because I'm just going to run quickly through what a solar eclipse is and what a lunar eclipse is. So, a solar eclipse happens with a new moon. What happens is the new moon moves between the sun and the earth. So it blocks out the sun's rays, casting a shadow on parts of the earth. Now, we haven't this year, but if we have a total solar eclipse, if you get a chance, or if you've had it in your past, you've experienced a total solar eclipse, it is the most wonderful experience. Everything goes deathly quiet, black, quiet. The birds stop singing. It's like the wind stops. Everything just stops. And it's a magical moment. And we can get an understanding of how the ancients saw these as presages of change of some description. And the interesting thing is, because the ancient astrologers observed that often eclipses linked in with changes of leadership of countries, of tribes. So they are associated with the loss of leadership or the death of kings and queens and leaders, or significant change. It's not always going to be death, but there is a change of power, a shift of power. So that's what a solar eclipse is. A lunar eclipse happens with a full moon, and that's when the earth comes between the sun and the moon, so that the earth's shadow covers the moon. And if it's a total lunar eclipse, and we've got 2 of those this year, it can actually look as if the moon turns red. And that will be when the eclipse reaches its totality. And again, that's an exciting sight to see. So what have we got going on? Well, on March the 14th, we have a total full moon lunar eclipse, and it's in Virgo, and it's at 23 degrees 58 minutes. And this is with the South Node, and it's in your 11th house. Now, Virgo is about attention to detail, and can actually get you worried. You can start being a little bit anxious with this kind of energy. It's your 11th house of your hopes and wishes and dreams. Somewhere the light is going out on one perhaps particular dream or project. So it can mean kind of closure or loss of some description. It depends, of course, what you do, but I think it may even be that there is an anxiety that you are losing something. Time will tell whether it is lost or it just is that something new needs to come in to replace it. And then on the 29th of March, we have a new moon partial solar eclipse. And this is still in Aries. So this is still the North Node in its original sign, or its old sign. And it's in your 6th house of health, 8 degrees and 53 minutes. So this new moon is giving you a chance again to reinvent and relook at the way you structure your day-to-day working activity, so that you can actually make it more cost-effective, more work-effective, so that you do give yourself time for you. Because all the signs at the moment seem to be experiencing this speeding up of the energy in general. If you haven't seen my overview yet, do check it out, because the overview for 2025 will give you a lot more information about what we can expect from the energies, the astrological energies that will be affecting all of us this year and world events. So let's move on to the second pair of eclipses, because on September the 7th, we have a total full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, So this is the North Node, and it's at 15 degrees and 24 minutes in your 5th house. This is changing something into something else. This could be a romance. This could be a creative project that you change its whole format, or it's completed and it's now the right time to set it free to the public, for instance. It's a full moon and the light is being dimmed from the moon. So it's also asking you to be mindful of timing. Make sure that you choose the right time to launch any new projects. Now, September the 21st, excuse me, September the 21st, we have a partial new moon solar eclipse in your 11th house in Virgo. So this is the South Node, and it's at 28 degrees and 59 minutes. Now, this is a new moon, and this is, again, your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, projects that you want to work on, and actually getting them out there to the wider community. And this is something you've been working on very meticulously. And it's now time. Stop procrastinating, stop tweaking it. It's time to put it out there, because you'll be pleased that you did. It's time to come out of the shadows and go, da-da, and here it is. So those are our eclipses for 2025. And I will, of course, talk about them in more detail when I do my weekly live streams for the week ahead. And then remember, I also do monthly live streams for the month ahead, and I do the full moons and the new moons and any particular significant astrological event. And remember, if you do want to have an astrological natal chart with transits reading with me, then go to my website, pennydix.com, and email me, because I decided I don't like using my booking system. I'm a control freak, and I would rather people email me directly so that I can decide when and how we can find the right time for us to meet, accommodating both of our time zones. So that's how I'm doing it. So if you're looking for something in January or February, there are still places available. So now we're going to move on and look at some of the major transits for the year, but just a glimpse, because I tell you what, you'll never remember all of this. I'm now remembering it because this is number 11 of the 12 zodiac signs that I'm doing. I've been doing them in little batches of earth, fire, air and water, and I'm finishing with water. So the next sign I'm going to record will be the last sign I've got to record, which is Pisces. So you're very honoured, because I've actually kind of learnt everything now, almost off by heart, and you're getting it absolutely kind of crisp and full and fresh, and apart from my irritating throat, which is just the cold, damp air that we get in Gozo. Major transits. Right, first of all, I want you to think about what was happening for you in the beginning of November, around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of November 2024. Now, if you remember, this was when we had the US election. So there was a general feeling throughout the planet of anxiety, tension, anticipation, excitement, fear, trepidation, and America was kind of split down the middle, with the Republican supporters and the Democrat supporters. As we all know now, we know the result, and we know that the Republicans gained the support of the people to form the next government. Now, like it or not, that's the way it is. And so it caused a lot of dissension, disagreement, and just general frustration for a lot of people. Frustration on both sides, because both sides are quite polarized. You've got the Republicans just saying kind of like, we're right and our leader is the best. And then you've got the Democrats saying, we're right and our leader is the best. And you just think, as an observer from Europe, dearie me, let's just cool it, guys. And can we address the real problems here? Because you guys in the United States kind of have control over the Western world. You're kind of almost, one would say, in charge of the planet. Although the president of Russia might disagree with that. I don't know. So anyway, let's move on. So as I was saying, at the beginning of November, we had this energy. So I want to think about what was going on for you at the beginning of November, because we had Mars in Cancer in your 9th house. So that's travel, higher learning, knowledge, etc. And it was opposite Pluto in your 3rd house of communication. So, and that was Capricorn. Now, it was pulling this kind of tension. There was communication going on, probably with people that were far distant from you, far away. And there would have been a bit of anxiety, a bit of kind of just not being able to see clearly what to do, a bit of anger, frustration, and just general kind of just anger about what was changing in your life. It's like things were changing and they were out of your control. And there was something here, Scorpio, that you just couldn't buy into. It was hard for you. Now we get similar energy at the beginning of 2025. It's exact on the 3rd, but so the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, we will get this same energy of Mars opposite Pluto. But this time, Mars is in Leo, in your 10th house, the house of your career, of your passion, of at a soul level, what you decided you wanted to bring to the public domain in this lifetime. And it's opposite Pluto in Aquarius, transformational Pluto in Aquarius in your 4th house of home and family. This tension, somehow it sees you making or getting closer to understanding and seeing the way forward. It's as if Neptune has been in the mix and the mists are slowly clearing and you're beginning to accept a certain reality and beginning to see the way through. Now, you won't fully get the answer to this until April the 27th, when we get the same opposition between Mars and Pluto. By then, somehow it will have resolved for you. And you'll think, now I know what that was all about. Now I know what I have learned from this experience. And you will be really grateful for the experience because it will have helped you transform and grow. So ultimately, the outcome of this is really, really positive for you. But what else have we got going on this year? Because Saturn is conjunct Neptune, and I mentioned that at the beginning. And it's in April, May, and June. It will be conjunct in your 6th house, Aries, but it won't be exact. So you will get a glimpse of this tug of energy between Saturn and Neptune, kind of saying to you, slow down. If you slow down, you will see through the fog and the mist and be able to take action about that which you want to change in your day-to-day routine. The other energy that is important to mention is about Uranus, of course, in your 7th house of significant relationships. It makes a sextile in March, April, till June and July, to Saturn in Pisces in your 5th house. There is something here about making decisions that take time to decide about a significant relationship, but you are getting closer to some kind of resolution and solution. And Pluto in Aquarius in your 4th house of home and family, sextiling Neptune, the planet of illusion, delusion, longing, yearning, in Aries in the 6th in April, May and June, is going to be transforming how you think about the way forward with certain projects and plans you've got for your daily routine. It's like you're changing a lot of habits, and you're saying it's like out with the old and in with the new. It really is like a really big clean sweep that is taking place. And then we need to look at both Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries in your 6th house of day-to-day routine, and they're going to be sextiling. Pluto's in Aquarius and Uranus is in Gemini, and they're in your 6th house. And they're sextiling Saturn in Aries in the 6th. And hang on a minute, I got that all wrong. Right, Pluto in your 4th house is sextiling Saturn in Aries in your 6th house. Okay, got that bit right. That is going to be helping to transform your day-to-day routine. Whereas Uranus in Gemini in your 8th is also helping you see how you can take joint finances and work with them in a constructive way to help make sense of the things in your working routine that are not kind of making sense. And this is in the summer. There is something significant going on in the summer that you're having to sort out work-wise or routine-wise, because even if you're retired, there will be things that you do that you have to kind of change. Then we have a tricky square between Neptune and Saturn in your 6th house of day-to-day activity to Jupiter in Cancer in your 9th house. And that's in June and July. Now, squares actually, contrary to popular opinion, can be incredibly helpful because they push us to grow. You're being pushed to change. You're being pushed to think outside the box, change, and move. And you can take that on whatever level you want, but this comes back to this sense I get of you know, how lucky if you have the opportunity to live in or visit many different places throughout the year so that you're never just in one place. But I do feel for you, Scorpio, there is an awful lot of movement happening for you this year. And then finally, we need to look at the trine we're going to get from Saturn in Pisces to Jupiter in Cancer, and that's going to be in October, November, and December. Saturn in your 5th house, slowing you down and helping you to make decisions about matters at a distance, especially if they are romantically involved. Pluto in Aquarius in your 4th house trines Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house of significant relationships, also in October, November, and December. So there is something about this year. Throughout the whole year, it's like you'll be working on how you organize a particular friendship or relationship and make it work for the both of you. That is really what I'm picking up. This can also be a business partner, because perhaps you both live in different parts of the world. It can also be really good friends. It could be family, and how you can work things so that you spend enough time with family that perhaps live abroad. So all in all, Scorpio, I think a really interesting year ahead for you. A lot of travel, a lot of movement, a lot of change, but positive change, and a lot of personal growth. So I'd like to say thank you so much for your patience in sitting through this incredibly long overview for 2025. They've all been long. I just seemed to find so much to say. You know me, can't shut me up. So thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And remember, if you want a session, pennydix.com, send me an email at penny@pennydix.com. And please check out the overview. All of these are time-stamped and linked with the overview. So remember to check out your sun sign, your rising sign if you know it, and your moon sign. And check out your friends and family as well, because that can give you some insight into what might be happening in your life too. So on that note, let me say thank you once again. You're all awesome. Take care, Scorpio. Have a great 2025. And I love you loads. Bye for now.